So before I had mindfulness, often I was reacting a lot to my students' behaviors, and behaviors would escalate. So if a student is starting to get frustrated in my classroom and get off task and maybe talk to their peers, I would usually come down really harshly, redirect them, or give them a consequence. And often that made my students feel even more frustrated. And maybe they'd say something under their breath, or maybe now they're pushing a desk, or maybe they'd even get so triggered that they would leave the classroom. Things like that used to happen to me a lot. And typically in the past, the way I would deal with it or react to it was just by giving consequences. And while that might have stopped my student, or while that might have, sometimes I could exert my will over a student and they would stop because they were afraid of receiving consequences, it actually didn't transform the students. Mindful discipline gives my students the opportunity to transform some of the behaviors that are negatively impacting themselves or negatively impacting their peers in their community. So instead of just punishing a student or giving them a consequence or sending them out of the room, I'm actually lovingly and kindly holding up a mirror and helping them notice what is their experience right now. And even giving them the opportunity to pause, tune in, check in. What am I feeling? What am I thinking? What are some of the physical sensations I have? And actually just slow down. And giving them the space to do that. Often in the classroom, when we have such a packed agenda and so many expectations that we have to meet, sometimes we're afraid just to pause and give our students some space to have their experience and have their emotions. And so that's something when I'm using mindful discipline that's really important to create space for my students' to experience it. I've seen such a difference in the classroom since I've used mindful discipline. So often when we're punishing students, it's not giving them the opportunity to learn about themselves and learn how to respond to that situation. So what I often hear now when I use mindful discipline is I hear students saying, oh yeah, my bad, or I'm sorry, oh yeah, that was kind of rude, wasn't it? Oh, okay. And they can actually take a moment and I give them that opportunity to repair. So maybe in a moment they're disrupting a lesson, or maybe in a moment they're saying something that was harmful to a classmate. They now, instead of just sending them out or giving them the consequence, they actually can pause, feel what it's like to do something or say something that causes harm, and then repair it. And I actually find that making that repair and having those moments where we get to learn from our mistakes, that's what really builds this rich culture. And accountability is a huge part of a community. So really we're teaching young people how to, number one, acknowledge what's happening in their experience, and then also take responsibility for the choices that they make and notice what is the impact that it has on the community.